What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today we are on the test server here, so thank you Plarium for allowing us access. And in today's video, we will be playtesting the upcoming fusion Titus Blackplume from the Banner Lord. So if you guys aren't aware, this is the brand new Void Legendary fusion that we have up for grabs. It's coming up on Thursday, and this is the first test server showcase on Titus here. We'll just call him Titus. Awesome looking champion. I think he looks amazing. There's a lot of very small, fine details in his aesthetics here, in his body and his armor. It looks awesome. You can kind of see his two masks. Like one mask is opening up, and he got the same thing going on with the shield here. I think that's really cool design. He kind of looks like a high elf-ish, but he's a Banner Lord. Anyways, he is a defense-based champion. He's Void Affinity, which is really awesome. He has decent base defense with kind of low-ish speed, coming with the 50 resistance here base. Let's go over his kit here real quick. It's a bit of an interesting kit here, and there's a lot to unpack. So his A1 has a 40%, 60% when fully booked of placing block active skill debuffs for 2 turns. This effect cannot be resisted if this champion is under a shield buff. Now that's a controllable buff, right? So it can be, kind of easy to manipulate, so you might not need accuracy on him. Now there's a secondary condition on his A1. Whenever an ally counterattacks, teams up with allies to attack, or instantly activates a skill, it has a 40% chance up to 60% chance to place block active skills for 2 turns on target enemies. So this, there was a bit of clarification on his A1. It's not he uses his A1, but the ally gains this ability, block active skill ability, when these conditions happen. So the counterattack, ally attack, or instant activate. So it's actually a pretty cool kind of mechanic we don't really see too often. But block active skills, I mean, doesn't really work on most bosses, has some use against Chimera, but mostly like a PvP type thing. It could work against some waves, I guess, where you can kind of shut down certain champions, but generally not a crazy common debuff. Let's go to his A2 here. So Student of War, 5-turn cooldown, books down to 3 turns, and it's going to be a single target attack. This attack is always critical if this champion is under a shield buff. Again, manipulatable buff, so we can control that. This attack also gains a damage boost equal to the value of the shield. Now, it doesn't say anything about a cap here, which is very interesting, and that's the first thing that I noticed. We did clarify with Plarium that this was intended and not something that was missed. So let's keep that in mind as this showcase moves on. Remove all debuff from all allies if the target is killed. If the target survives, place a provoke on all enemies for 1 turn. This effect cannot be resisted under shield. So again, he might not need accuracy for this if he has a shield on. But the condition to kill somebody is actually probably a bit difficult. So you're probably unlikely to get the cleanse, but you're more likely to get the provoke. So a 3-turn AoE provoke with damage boosting from shields and then damage scaling from HP and defense could be interesting. It's going to be more damage scaling on defense because it's the front stat here versus the second stat. Just keep that in mind when you guys are building him out. And then we got his A3 here, Androx Confidant, 5-turn cooldown down to 3 turns with 2 books. Places ally protection, increase attack, and increase speed on 1 ally, and then a 40% turn meter boost. It instantly activates this skill at the end of an ally's turn if that ally has no buffs and their HP is lower than 100%. So for example, I was thinking like if you use this on a champion that went first, for example, but because they went first and they don't take damage, they wouldn't receive the buff. So it's not super busted that way, but this can be very strong in a pinch. The ally protection can definitely shut down a lot of damage incoming, and it's just a passive effect, so he doesn't need to take a turn or anything like that, which is pretty cool, but probably a little bit tricky to use. His passive here, each time an enemy hits an ally, the ally's next attack will deal 10% more damage for each hit they take, up to 10%. Oh, sorry, 100%. So if you get hit 10 times, you get 100% stack. That's kind of difficult, but it's there. It's passive damage boost. The damage increase resets after that ally deals damage. So really powerful passive here just for boosting damage. Let's test him out and see what he can do in terms of what his mechanics can bring us. All right, so let's test out his A1 here first. So his A1 basically gives the block active skills debuff on your team allies that are attacking with counterattack, ally attack, or activated skills. So in this case, when Mikage brings everybody into the ally attack, Insenza here, who has an A1 AoE, should be applying an AoE block active skill debuff on the entire team. So let's see this again. Only applied once again. Keep in mind, it's only a 40%, 60% chance when fully booked. This time, Titus landed the block active skills himself, but Insenza also landed it here. Kind of want to show you guys it landing with Insenza multiple times. Let's see this. Insenza, can she do it multiple times? There we go. Insenza landed 3 of them because Titus is attacking this, got this guy's name, this dwarf here, this void dwarf. Bulwark. I think Bulwark? I forgot his name. Bull something. But anyways, Insenza landed 3 block active skills with her A1 AoE. So, you know, this ability is actually pretty strong and can definitely be really, really good just for clearing waves and all that, or at least neutralizing waves, so that makes it easier for you guys to go through them. So yeah, pretty good. I think it's, you know, passively a very, very strong condition. And all you really need is just, you know, you need an ally attacker and you need an ally with an A1 that's an AoE. So really, really strong A1, really impressive. All right, let's run him in this team to test out his A2 in terms of overall damage. His A1 doesn't hit very hard, but his A2 is kind of spec'd out to be a damage dealing ability. So if you read it again, it does get a boost from shields, it does scale off defense and HP, and there's a condition when you kill somebody. So, you know, maybe Plarium expects your A2 to deal quite a bit of damage. So let's see how he does here. He has a team here with a bunch of shields. This is more of a generic team as opposed to a team that really is very specific to himself. So we have a couple shields here. We have AoE decreased defense and weaken, and then we have the increased defense here to give him a little bit of a damage boost. Let's see how well this team shapes up. Let's see here. So we got the decreased defense and weaken. Let's see what his A2 can do in terms of overall damage. And boom, 358,000 on that hit. It seems okay. I mean, we just one-shot that dwarf bulwark there. He is in full damage gear right now. I'll show you guys the gear on him real quick. And then I'll show you guys what I'm running in terms of the overall mastery. So this is the gear I'm running on him. You know, just to test out his damage a little bit. I gave him, you know, obviously an ignore defense set with the lethal set. 268 crit damage here. He doesn't have a blessing or anything like that. No relics. No books, so I'm not even booking him out for the extra 20% damage here. So he did about 350k damage. Masteries not fully booked out, but most importantly is the Helm Smasher here just for the extra damage. Let's put the gear back on Harima, which is where I got the gear from, and see how well Harima does in terms with basically the same gear. All right, guys, so we're just swapped the gear back onto Harima here. Harima is 6-star with a crushing rend as well, so she's definitely way more stronger than our Titus, who is not booked and has no blessing. But let's see how well she does in this same scenario against the same champion. We'll have to test out her A1 here, and then we'll do the abilities separately. Her A1 does 220k. I mean, pretty strong for an A1. Let's test out her A2 here, which is probably her biggest hitting ability. But so far, Titus was doing about 350 there on his big slam. All right, let's do the triple hit on slow-mo. It's going to be pretty big, I think. One hit for 130k. So her triple hit would have been about 430 if it connected all 3 at the same time, being all the same. Same damage, 430, about 500k. So definitely more powerful than Titus's A2. So Harima's A2, but like I said, Harima's definitely got a much stronger build, and then with the 6-star blessing as well. So we can just basically conclude that Titus's A2 is kind of in line in terms of damage wise, even with the shield scaling, just for like normal applications. It would have been weird if Titus significantly outdamaged the Harima here, but you can see the Harima with 6-star crushing rend going to be outdamaging the shielded up Titus there with no books and all that stuff. But still, it wasn't significantly close or anything like that, or anything of particular interest. So nothing too peculiar about his A2. It hits decent, but nothing too crazy, at least under normal circumstances. All right, let's swap Titus out of that damage build and let's test him out in the arena. And I got some builds for you guys here that might actually be helpful because the builds don't require any books. So we're gonna try him out with no books, no masteries, and yeah, we'll see how well he performs. All right, guys, let's bring him into the arena. And I got a build here that is a little bit interesting and might be useful for maybe more players to get some use out of them here. So we got a speed team here. We're going to go first. So we boost up here. Lock him out. We are on 1 time speed. And we might actually get a chance to see his A3 in action. So as you can recall, the A3 basically passively applies increased attack, ally protection, and increased speed if they have no buffs at the end of their turn. So this actually works pretty well for a champion like Empress, who has extra turn mechanics and all that. So there's going to be turns where he's not going to have any buffs, which is pretty cool. Let's see it in action here. So we got the fear. He's going to take a turn. He's going to get an extra turn. We got 1 buff left. And then we're going to do the swap here. So, and then he's going to take another turn, do the HP swap here. And then you see that when he takes the swap, his turn ends. But for some reason, the swap happens after the A3 gets applied. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of weird, but anyways, it's fine. But it's interesting to see, and it works. There you go. His A3 works. Empress comes in there, does the big smack, and this one is over. So interesting application here from his A3. We can again try it out here as well against the YST's team here. Let's speed up a little bit. I think we should probably maybe go first. We do. So Empress gonna do his thing. Gonna get the extra turn here, and then we're gonna get the ally protection. And that didn't work. That seems, oh, we have to be under, oh, that's right, we have to be under 100%. So now we see the little bit of a, hard spot in his A3 conditional, because he has to be under 100% HP. It's a little bit, a little bit on the tougher side. I don't want to kill his team right away. Okay, there we go. Now that happened. Did you see what happened there? Because he got hit with the counterattack and then his turn ended, Titus applied the ally protection, increased speed, and then all of his buffs. So really, really nice there. Let's see it apply even more. There we go. Another application there. Really nice. And then we're probably going to get another application here as well. Oh no, Fabian's at 100% HP, so that's not going to work. So it's a little bit difficult to, obviously get that 100% HP stuff down. Keep going here. And then Titus will get a turn. So now we got our full team under ally protection and increased speed. So yeah, I mean, it works. It works. It works fine. But you guys can kind of see in real life applications here, the A3 conditional is not super easy to be applied, just because of the 100%, well, has to be less than 100% condition. So slightly hard to apply. But you can kind of see here, we are getting it with some relative frequency here, I think. Let's see here. So Fabian's going to get it. Yep. It's pretty neat. Arbor's going to get it here too. Oh, Arbor didn't get it? How come? She's slightly less than 100%. Okay, there we go. Okay, that was weird. That was weird. So it required Fabian to take his turn before he applied it. I don't know if that's some issue there, but that seems kind of weird. It seems relatively consistent. Seems relatively consistent here. Kind of interesting. I mean, this fight would have been over a long time ago, but it's interesting to see. Again, he had to take his turn before he applied the ally protection increased speed. I don't know. Do you guys know something going on there? Maybe something that's not supposed to be happening. I'm not too sure. Anyways, good to see that the A3 is actually, kind of usable. And I'll show you guys why that is kind of important, because the build that he was in was absolutely nothing special. So I was just putting him in a 6-piece stone skin, so he's in the Stone Skin build, and he's super slow. Resistance doesn't really matter, but you know, could be useful. But he's basically just there to you know, for your allies to benefit from his his conditional A3. And if you were running an ally protect champion, then you would just, sorry, if you're running an ally attack champion, then you would be benefiting from the block active skills. Of course, if you could have counterattacks and all that stuff, then you could have this block active skill work for you as well. And then if you have shields on, it's even better. But he was basically just doing doing what he's going to do without much of anything. So if you guys pick him up as a fusion, and then just put him in just Stone Skin and put him on the back of your team, he could function decently as a perhaps a go second team type champion for support, just utilizing his conditional A3 here with no cooldown. And you do get a little bit of a damage boost here from his passive as well. So he is passively helping your team. And then, yeah, giving him the Stone Skin here will protect him from the ally protect damage that he's going to receive from your teammates. So I think this is somewhat of a viable type of strategy here. No books, no masteries, and then just really slow in a 6-piece Stone Skin. He could be useful in this way. Not saying that it's a top tier strategy or anything like that, but it could be useful. All right, guys, let's take Titus into the spot where I think he's going to be the most impactful and why I think he is a 100% must fuse for basically anybody looking to, you know, score really, really well in Hydra. I think this guy is a massive, massive answer for players without some of the key meta damage dealing champions in Hydra, namely Trunda. This guy is going to be absolutely insane, similar to how Corpident Cadaver was back in the day before he was nerfed. He has a similar mechanic on his A2 where it scales damage off of his shields. And now with that strategy in mind, you just basically build the biggest shield possible on Titus and get him to lay the smack down with his A2. And personally for me, I don't know anything about the Cadaver build. I never dived into it because I thought it was always something that could be nerfed. So this is my warning to everybody watching here today. We did speak to Plarium about this potentially being fixed or nerfed in the future. They have told us that it was not and it was intended. Now you guys can take that with a grain of salt, whether they will fulfill, you know, keep that promise or not. But that is so far what we've heard. They are aware of the damage output and they are giving us the okay on it so far. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about this team here and what it can do. So basically what you really want to do is build a super big shield on Titus and get him to use his A2 to deal top damage. Now there's going to be two different ways to grow shields in this game, and it's going to be coming down to Brogni using his A2 to build shields up, or using Wixwell with using his A2 to build shields up. Both of them do it in different ways. Wixwell's shield buff comes from his A2 that buffs the shield based on the amount of buffs on the entire team, whereas Brogni's A2 shield growth comes from the damage that he deals. So they both grow shields in different ways, but the general premise of these type of builds is basically the same. You have shield buffs, you have a way to grow the shield buffs, you have a way to extend the shield buffs so that it doesn't fall off, and then you have ways to basically get all that happening over and over and over again. So you want lots of growing, you want lots of extending, and then after that you just want to construct a team around keeping the damage dealer, you know, constantly going. So like I said, I'm not an expert in building cadaver teams. This is what I learned in a day. Obviously these teams can be optimized, but there's going to be 1,000,000% something here that is going to be definitely a meta changer. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys some coverage here, and like I said, I'm using the same Titus here with no books and no masteries, guys. No books and no masteries. So let's jump into some footage here, and here we go. So I was running this on hard difficulty here. As you can clearly see, I'm going to move my head here. 1 second, just going to move my head. So we have Titus here on the far left, and you can kind of see his shield is getting pretty darn massive. And we're just going to watch him plug away here and see what kind of crazy damage he can do. Because the way the team is set up, Titus is the slowest, so he doesn't outrun his buffs. So that's kind of key here, right? That's just generally how you should probably build a team like this. He doesn't outrun his buffs. He's not going to because we have a couple extenders on the team. And yeah, he's going to be able to do his, you want to save his A2. And this is probably going to be a manual team if you want the maximum damage from it. Of course, like I said, this can be totally optimized further. This is just my understanding of how to build these type of teams. You can kind of see here, he has a pretty massive shield. Turn count is only 22. Turn count is 22. So there is a cap on the shield growth. I believe it's 1 million HP. I don't know if we reached the maximum. I don't know the exact timing of that. But here we go. We're coming in with the A2. 4 million damage against the head with ally protection, non-decapitated. So you guys can get a sense of how much damage he can do in terms of just one hit. So just one hit, he's doing 4 million against an ally protected head that was not decapitated. So I'm going to show you guys a couple more big slams here that Titus did in just this, a little bit of testing here. And like I said, I've been, it took me about a day to figure this out, and just a day of play testing. So by no means fully optimized. I would love to see what you guys have in store for this type of mechanic. I know there's a lot of cadaver experts out there, but yeah, we got cadaver kind of back. He's void affinity as well, so I don't know if that makes a huge difference, but I think for a damage dealer, it's probably going to be a big deal. So here we go. His A1 doesn't hit super hard. Keep that in mind. It's all about the A2 here. And yeah, we're using Lamasu's reset on Wixwell just to juice up the shields a bit more. And then let's see here. Decrease defense and weaken, get all the buffs up. So the aim of the game here for Wixwell is basically just get all the buffs up, get all the buffs on, and then Wixwell can use the A2 to pump it up, pump up the shield growth. Let's see here. We're setting up for the A2 here. Like I said, he's not booked out, so he doesn't have the decreased cooldowns or anything like that. We got Mad Hatter in here. He's great. He's got the A3 extension. He's also got Hex, which is awesome too. And he brings in a little bit of damage with his A2. Here we go. Big slam. This is a non-decapped head hit. 6 million damage right there on a non-decap head. The Hex splash damage killed the side two heads there. So just massive amounts of damage. We're going to set up again. Just take a look at that turn count, 27. We are only on hard difficulty. Like I said, this can be further optimized and all that stuff. So let's see, extension. Here we go. Got the A2. So the A2 is just applying the ally protection. We want to just apply more buffs. So Wixwell's get a bigger A2. You can kind of see there, the shield's pretty massive. Again, I don't know which is when it reaches its maximum. Here you go, A2 for growth. Applying everything. And here we go. We got the A2. Slow it down for the cameras. Got 3 decapped heads now. Decreased defense and weaken on all 3 of them. Hex applied to all 3 of them. And we got 15 million damage. And then the splash damage, about 4 or 5 million each. There you go, guys. And we're only on turn 29. So I'm going to end that footage there. But basically, you guys got the gist of what's happening there. I'll show you guys the team that I was running here. So this was the build that I was running for Titus. You guys can have a quick look here. Right here. So this was the build that I was running for Titus. I was running a Merciless set and a Hex set. So the Merciless set here is for the cooldown reduction on his A2. Like I said, he was not booked. He was not booked out. So he was running a 5-turn A2. If you're running a 3-turn A2, he's just going to be doing more A2s. You're just going to be doing more damage, right? Tons more damage, actually. And he wasn't fully booked. So I didn't use any books on him. You could probably build him out with like War Master for some additional damage. The thing with him is that since he's probably running with the most buffs out of the whole team, you want resistance on him so that he doesn't get all his buffs stolen. So I did run him with some resistance. 435 is probably like the bare minimum for Hydra hard. You probably want to shoot for closer for 500 resistance. But he doesn't really need anything else. He doesn't need, crit rate, crit damage, because crit rate, he's going to be capping all the time. He's capped all the time when he's under a shield. So give him some additional crit damage. You want him to be the highest anyway, so that, for example, we are using Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter would bring him into ally attack. Anyways, Hex is just to make sure that more hexes are being applied to everybody. I did read that there was an interesting interaction with Hex in that War Master, if you run War Master with Hex set, that the War Master proc can land the Hex. So that could be kind of interesting. Obviously, the Hex gives quite a bit of splash damage. You guys can see that from the from that big hit at the end there with the 3 decapped heads. You can see the splash damage being applied through the Hex, which is pretty important. But yeah, the other interesting stat here that you need for him is that he needs to be the slowest, so that he basically doesn't outrun the buffs on himself. No relic. Again, this can be totally optimized. Like I said, it's like a first test with Titus, and I was already so impressed that there's so much potential with this guy. And like I said, I didn't run any masteries. He's not even fully booked. He's no relic. Reflex set would work on him because you want the additional, A2 back. Merciless set, like I said, for the additional A2 back on Titus here. But we can definitely see that he was slamming lights out against those Hydra heads. Emic here, we were running Emic. Shield set, very important. We're running Impulse as well. Impulse would give him basically, more chances at reducing the cooldown of his reset ability or his shield ability. Or whatever. His A1 shield growth here is not very big. It's not important. But the big thing about him is that he does provide the cooldown reduction. He does provide a little bit of protection as well. And the shield buff is very important here, the shield set, because you have to basically have a shield to grow. And you can do a shield set, you can do a bolster set, and then of course Wixwell has his own shield. But having more shields to grow, it's going to be better. You could even run the magma shield as well from the Vol cardiac heart, the relic. If you have that on somebody, that's an additional shield buff that you could grow and extend as well. So those are all good things to boost up damage. So here, shield set, impulse set, or you could run, some kind of mix here, but I think Impulse with Shield is probably the one that makes the most sense. He doesn't need accuracy or anything, so you can kind of just build him out a bit easier with the shield set. After that, we had the Mad Hatter, so we're running Mad Hatter here. Again, we're running Merciless set, so he gets 30% reduction on one of his skills. And the best skill for him is the increased duration and then turn meter boost. Obviously, this is very important, the Hex set and the weaken and the team up ability, but the team up ability is not going to be very, very strong because you're teaming up with Titus and using his A1. His A1 is not super strong. So this is not super, super relevant. Hex is very good, obviously very, very important for the splash damage, but the increased duration is going to be very, very good. So if you can bring a champion that brings increased duration with maybe more buffs and then just give a Hex set on more champions, then that works out too. A good champion for this could be Anchorite. So if you guys have somebody like Anchorite, he can be a very good champion or a budget option for this as well. He brings increased crit rate, increased crit damage, so that's 2 extra buffs. And then he brings the increased duration here as well. He also brings an A1 AoE, so if you put him in a Hex set, he can be your Hex champion as well. So he can be a very budget Mad Hatter type champion or buff extender here. So Anchorite is actually really, really good. After that, we were running Lamassu. So Lamassu here, kind of multi-purpose. She does bring the AoE block buffs, decreased speed, which is obviously very good against boss and Hydra encounters. We have her in a provoke set. Not necessary, obviously. The provoke set's just here just to help the provoke. We do have Wixwell, but again, a totally excessive provoke. You could put her in a lot of different sets and have her work really well. You could put her in impulse set, reflex set, relentless set. They all kind of work on her really, really well. What you really want from her is basically her resetting ability to give basically more of this. If you get more of this, then you get more of the A2s, you get more extensions, you get more growing. You know, the faster you grow it to max shield, the more damage you're going to be doing, you know, for longer periods of time for more of the fight. So Lamastri is very good. He has a speed in all auras, speed in all battles aura, and yeah, she's technically a free champion. So, and then we were running Lydia here, technically another free champion here. We're running her with Feral. I'm not sure if the Feral damage actually boosts the damage from the shield slam from the A2 from Titus. But she's just in my Feral set. I didn't really change her out of any gear or anything. Yeah, pretty standard stuff. Just want accuracy to land her stuff. Nothing too crazy. She has Brimstone, which most Lydias probably have. And then lastly, we have Wixwell. So Wixwell is super important to this team. It's very difficult to make this team without Wixwell or Brogni. Those two champions are the main ways to grow shields into basically ridiculous size. So that you can do ridiculous damage. So for Wixwell here, having more A2s, so that his A2 here increases the value of shields based on the amount of buffs on the entire team that get their duration increased. So that's very important. So the more buffs you have on your whole team, the more duration increasing happens, and then the bigger the shields get. So super important. Again, there's not too many champions that have growing shield abilities that can work for this type of team. The other champion here is Brogni. He grows it in a different way. His A2 will increase the value of shields on all allies by 30% of the damage inflicted. So when he slams on his A2, he will grow shields that way. But Wixwell does it in a different way. And generally, Wixwell probably does it in an easier way. And because Wixwell was a fusion, like, you know, still a year ago fusion, more people will probably have him than Brogni. And like I said, Wixwell grows it in an easier way. You don't have to gear out Wixwell in like full savage gear and like insane stats and all that stuff, because Brogni needs to have insane stats to grow the shields. But, you know, some synergistic sets on Wixwell will be very good. Obviously, I'm running Reflex and Merciless, so it gives you more opportunity to reduce the cooldown on his A2, which means more A2s will be happening, which means more growing of the shield, which means more damage from Titus. So that is the idea between the between the sets here. He's quick so that he can cycle back to his abilities, and then he has accuracy to land his decreased attack, which is relatively good, and of course his A1 provoke so that he can shut down the head of decay, which is very good as well. If you want to play him with resistance, that also works as well. Honestly, resistance on this whole team would make a lot of sense, but if you manage your buffs properly, then Titus should always get targeted with the head of mischief, and then since he has resistance, he will resist 97% of the time. Masteries here, nothing too crazy, no relic, nothing too crazy. Cruelty on him. And of course, for the Masteries, you want to pick up stuff so that he gets turn meter, so that, or, you know, skill reset so that he gets more A2s, which is, you know, that's the name of the game, right? A2s on Wixwell to increase the size of the shields. All right, and then let's talk about Titus a little bit more here. So like I said, Titus, he could definitely run in a reflex set if you guys want to get more A2s out of him. I ran him in a hex set just to see how it works, and it works pretty fine. The idea behind it is just to basically land hex as often as possible. Like I said, if you had War Master procs also have a chance to land hex as well. But yeah, there he is. No books, no relics, no masteries, and still slamming those Hydra heads. All you need is this kind of synergistic team. Now, this team, like I said, guys, is not perfect. It's not optimized. Titus, if he gets eaten, is a big problem, right? So if Titus gets eaten, there's no way to free him with this team. If he gets eaten, you have to reset as well. So you have to kind of rebuild, whatever you got on him. So right now, at least for me, I have, no idea what I'm supposed to do in terms of optimizing the team to make it so that he doesn't get eaten, for example. So I just want to make sure that I preface that, like, this is not like a perfect team or anything like that. So there's going to be a million things that needs to be put into this team to improve it so that it can be, a viable team that people run for big damage and higher difficulty and all that. But I just wanted to show you guys Titus in action in this type of team. He has a ton of potential, and I think he is a must get fusion. unless Plarium does something really stupid and nerfs him after we release these videos. But you know what? We already told them. We already told them about this champion. We already told them. We already told them the damage. We showed them the screenshots, talked to them in the DMs and everything. And they gave us the green light. And the fact that they haven't said anything about this and, this champion is going to come out, I don't know what else to say. But as he is right now, after my testing, with the potential that I see here, he's 100% must get if you have any aspirations to enter the end game for damage dealers. And I definitely think he's going to be out damaging a lot of the traditional damage dealers outside of Trunda. I think once these type of shield teams get super optimized, this guy's going to be slamming for big hits. And I think he scales really, really well. So if you don't have like the craziest team or the craziest gear, he's probably still going to do pretty good for you in lower difficulty. So normal, hard, whatever. And also, he's going to scale all the way up to nightmare difficulty and be very, very powerful there as well. All right, guys. So here we go. Titus Blackplume here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the showcase here. I think his kit was a little bit wonky, but it definitely showed a lot of potential when I first read his kit. And after playtesting him, I am absolutely blown away that this guy has so much potential. And I think he's going to be really, really helpful for all types of players, from beginning, middle, or even end game players. So make sure you guys do your best. Make sure you guys try to pick him up. We'll be running the schedule and everything to try to help you guys out on all that. If you guys watch to the end, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure you guys come on back for more. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Titus and the showcase here. Appreciate your thoughts. Appreciate your time. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.